you guys are doing a nice job of putting these things into context, because you got to watch the games. You can't just look at a stat sheet and say this is what it is. But of course, the stats generally tell the story. I'm going to say they tell, depending on the situation, 75% of the story. And with Bo Nix, it's 58% passing. It's 12 touchdowns, 7 picks last year. And what we see out of that type of program elsewhere, we're seeing guys throw for 35 and 40 touchdowns. Now, that may not necessarily be Bo Nix's lot in life, even if he's successful, but are we going to be able to see a reflection on the stat sheet? What would you guys like to see that's reasonable out of him if he's playing well, if he gets developed? They're running an offense that's not Joe Brady and Joe Burrow 2 years ago, but what you would expect to be a nice improvement this year.
For me, it really, I go back and nostalgically and think about how great our defense was 2 years ago and long for the days of having a very dominant defense with an adequately performing quarterback. We lament over the fact that if Bo Nix his freshman year could have just been an average quarterback, as far as his consistency is concerned, specifically on the road, I think that we win a lot more games that season. So for me, I just want to see Bo Nix get into the mid 60s as far as his completion percentage is concerned, just be a solid manager of the football game, hand the ball off successfully to a Heisman caliber, in my opinion, running back, and get the ball out to the talented guys that we have on the outside. We've got a lot of wide receivers, unproven again, but very talented guys that he can get the ball into their hands and let them do work. And then just take care of the football. The touchdown to interception ratio is really what I'm more concerned about, not necessarily how many touchdowns he throws for, because I honestly expect that he's going to use his legs to get a lot of things done offensively. So if he can keep his ratio pretty lopsided in the direction of touchdowns, and he can get that completion percentage up to the mid 60s, I'd be very satisfied. Again, if we do have that dominant defense coming back where we can limit people's ability to score against us, and then we just play ball control, keep away, let's keep it moving. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, for me, it's the same, right? Like mid 60s, and the model for that would be 2020 Kellen Mond. Right.
Mm-hmm.
What Jimbo Fisher was able to do with Kellen Mond at Texas A&M is exactly what I would be looking for. I think that's a reasonable progression for Bo. The better quarterbacks in our league we've seen over the last 3 years have completion percentages somewhere above 70%. Right. Mac Jones was crazy accurate, not just in completing passes, but his ball placement was phenomenal. Kyle Trask was one of the most blitzed quarterbacks in our league, and Florida had a one-dimensional offense. But when you blitzed him, he burned you to the tune of 17 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. So blitzing him was a non-starter, right? What we experienced last year with Bo was, when kept clean, he completed only 64% of his passes. Now, quarterbacks in our league, when under pressure, their percentage drops off significantly. So, nearly 80% Mac Jones, right, when kept clean, was only 55% when under pressure. So the question is, what is that fall off from? He's just got to be more accurate with the football. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Again, I can't reiterate, the offensive line took a lot of heat last year. When they gave him a perfect pocket, he still could not complete passes. And even when he did, sometimes the ball placement was so poor that the receivers were not able to make a play after the catch, or it kept them from making the maximum play after the catch. They just have to get better with that. Now, some of that was on Bo, and some of it was on poor, slow developing plays that were called that didn't give him any options to check down to. All of that has to improve for Bo Nix to improve his completion percentage. So I think mid 60s is reasonable. We don't need to, with the defense that we have and the running back that we have, we don't need him to go out there and throw for 73% or anything crazy like that. You just limit the turnovers, manage the game, and don't miss the big throws when you get the chance. That's all we need.